No one believed an ordinary father would dare to begin a project this insane. While most parents buy phones, clothes, or simple gifts for their children, he decided to do something that sounded impossible: build a one-of-a-kind Lamborghini entirely with his own hands. Not a toy. Not a display model. A real supercar with a working engine, scissor doors, headlights, and the true spirit of a Lamborghini. Inside the small garage behind his house, there was almost nothing except old tools, metal sheets, sparks from welding machines, and a dream everyone laughed at. Neighbors walked by shaking their heads. Some thought he only wanted attention. But behind his tired eyes was something stronger than pride: the love of a father for his son. His boy loved Lamborghini cars more than anything. He spent hours watching supercar videos online, memorizing every model, every exhaust sound, every design detail. Whenever a Lamborghini appeared on the street, the boy's eyes lit up instantly. His father noticed that excitement every single time, and he wanted to make that dream real. The problem was simple. He wasn't an engineer. He had never worked for a car company. He had no expensive machines, no wealthy sponsors, and no professional team helping him. The only thing he had was determination powerful enough to ignore every voice telling him to quit. By the third day, the first frame of the car had been built. It looked rough, crooked, and nothing like a Lamborghini. People laughed openly at it. But to him, it was the first step of a 90-day mission. Every morning he woke up before sunrise. The sound of grinding metal echoed through the quiet neighborhood. Sparks filled the garage like tiny explosions of hope. His hands slowly became covered in burns and cuts, but he never stopped. The hardest part wasn't building the body. It was creating the soul of a Lamborghini. A Lamborghini isn't just about speed. It's emotion. It's aggressive beauty. It's the sound that shakes your chest when the engine roars. The father studied every detail through hundreds of videos. He watched slow-motion footage of Aventadors and Veninos late into the night, analyzing every curve and every light angle. Some nights he stayed awake until 3 a.m. adjusting tiny pieces only a few millimeters at a time. Because he knew one thing: if he was going to build this car, it had to become something unforgettable for his son. By day 15, the car finally began to resemble a real supercar. The scissor doors were tested for the first time, but failed immediately. The hinges snapped from the weight, causing people nearby to laugh again. But the father stayed silent. He removed the entire system and started over from scratch. That same night, heavy rain flooded the garage floor, yet the lights inside remained on. The father continued welding through exhaustion while cold wind blew across the room. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but his focus never changed. He only wanted one thing: to finish the rarest Lamborghini in the world for his son. What made the car special wasn't money. Every inch of the vehicle carried real emotion. No robots. No factory production lines. Just a father pouring love into cold pieces of metal. Then on day 23, the engine finally made its first sound. The entire garage fell silent. The engine shook violently and sounded rough, but to him it was perfect. It meant the car was alive. And standing beside that unfinished Lamborghini, the father cried. As the second month began, pressure started crushing everything around him. Money became tighter every day. Important parts cost more than expected, and some days the father had to sell valuable belongings just to continue building the Lamborghini. But the real enemy wasn't money. It was time. He had promised his son the car would be completed in exactly 90 days. That promise became a countdown constantly running inside his head. On day 32, the body received its first real paint job. Under the garage lights, the metallic yellow paint reflected beautifully, and for the first time people stopped laughing. The car finally looked real. Children from the neighborhood gathered outside every afternoon just to watch him work. Even adults who once mocked him now stood quietly observing the project. Meanwhile, his body was slowly breaking down. Welding sparks burned his face. Sharp metal sliced his hands. Some nights he was so exhausted he could barely stand. But after quickly wrapping his wounds, he always returned to work. Because he could only imagine one thing: his son smiling beside the finished car. On day 40, the interior installation began. The father wanted the inside of the car to feel just as special as the outside. He hand-stitched leather seats, redesigned the dashboard multiple times, and built the center console to resemble a fighter jet cockpit. Even the LED lighting system inside the cabin had to be rebuilt again and again because it still didn't feel perfect. What shocked people most was his obsession with detail. One day, he spent nearly 8 hours adjusting the alignment of the doors just to make the gaps look cleaner. Most people would never notice something so small. But he noticed everything. Because this wasn't just a vehicle. It was the greatest gift he would ever give his son. Then came day 53. The biggest disaster yet. The engine system suddenly malfunctioned during testing. The car vibrated violently while smoke poured from the rear. Everyone watching thought the engine would explode. The garage became completely silent. The father sat alone on the floor for a long time without speaking. It was the first moment he truly looked defeated. But eventually, he stood back up. He dismantled the entire rear system and inspected every part one by one. For 3 straight days he barely slept. His eyes became swollen and dark from exhaustion, yet he kept working nonstop. Finally, the problem was fixed. The engine roared again, louder and stronger than before. The sound echoed across the neighborhood and gave everyone chills. The Lamborghini was no longer just a dream. It was becoming real. On day 65, the scissor doors finally worked perfectly. As they slowly lifted upward beneath the garage lights, everyone nearby started clapping. The father simply stood there staring at the car. At that moment, he no longer looked like a mechanic. He looked like an artist watching his masterpiece come to life. But even then, he still wasn't satisfied. He continued improving every tiny detail, from the sound of the doors closing to the reflection of the paint and the feel of the steering wheel. He wanted his son to feel like he was stepping into a dream, and by then, very little remained of those 90 days. On day 72, videos of the handmade Lamborghini finally appeared online. At first, only a few thousand people watched. Then hundreds of thousands. Then millions. Car lovers everywhere became fascinated by the mysterious father building a one-of-a-kind Lamborghini inside a tiny garage. Many people thought it had to be fake. Some believed it was computer-generated or made for a movie. But close-up footage proved otherwise. Every weld, every body panel, every reflection in the paint looked real. What truly shocked people wasn't only the car itself. It was the story behind it. An ordinary father had spent nearly every hour of 90 days creating something impossible for his son. On day 78, the Lamborghini was driven outside for its first public test drive. The moment the scissor doors opened on the street, people immediately pulled out their phones to record. The bright yellow supercar looked like something from a futuristic movie. Children screamed with excitement. Adults stood frozen in disbelief. Some people even chased after the car just to see it more closely. But the happiest person there was still the father. He sat quietly behind the steering wheel with a small smile on his face. Not the smile of someone proud of building a supercar, but the smile of a father who knew he was about to fulfill his son's greatest dream. By day 84, nearly everything was finished. The Lamborghini now looked like a true limited edition masterpiece. The paint shined like glass. The LED headlights looked razor sharp. The scissor doors moved smoothly, and the interior felt incredibly luxurious despite being built in a tiny garage.